everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Golf on Tap. I am live. We are live here, me and my good buddy, Jack Bushman, at Jack Bushman2. You can follow the Twitter account at OnTapGolf. You can follow the betting account at OnTapBets. And for all your Chicago sports needs and beer reviews, entertainment articles, all that sort of stuff, at OnTap Sportsnet, all social media platforms. Follow at ontapsportsnet.com. Go ahead and check out Jack's article that he wrote. Is that out yet, Jack? I try to avoid your articles until we do the show because I don't want any bias creeping in.
I don't know if it's been put out yet, but it has been finished and should be out here soon. So a lot of good stuff in there. A lot of good stuff we'll be talking about today. I'm excited for it, Joey.
I am too. I want to get your thoughts about last week too. Max Homa pulled out the Dub City. I thought it was Jason Day week. Finally, I thought it was Jason Day season last week, and it didn't happen. Fine. What are you going to do? But yeah, Max Homa, man, like this dude's he's kind of starting to dominate here a little bit. And I think people are starting to talk about him as a potential multi-major type of guy. And I'm hearing a lot of buzz about that, and for good reason, because he's golfing really well. What do you think about what actually transpired last weekend?
Yeah, another comeback victory for Max Homa. Kind of seems to be his fashion coming back on Sunday. I believe he's done that now in 4 of his 6 PGA Tour wins. But it's been really cool to see his ascension just from kind of like being the popular Twitter golfer and from being known on the internet to kind of becoming one of the best in the entire world and winning some really big events like the Wells Fargo and now having the Farmers Insurance under his belt at Torrey Pines. I mean, it's a really big victory for Max Homa. And, you know, it's just been incredible to see him go on this rise in the past couple of years. And there's no reason that he can't continue this on. I mean, he's one of the most well-rounded players in the entire game. It seems like he's got that fire inside of him and has that coolness and the calmness about him to get the job done down the stretch. I mean, in crunch time, I don't know if there's very many more golfers on the PGA Tour that I trust to pull out a win than Max Homa. Like, honestly, I didn't get any bets down on this tournament before it got started, with it starting on Wednesday, a little bit different. My whole schedule was just in a bit of a whirlwind, but I ended up catching Max Homa 9-1 live on Thursday. And I was actually waiting for it to jump, Joey. I was watching the coverage. I saw Max Homa was at plus 700 and he was in trouble, potentially on the cusp of making a bogey. He did make that bogey. The number jumped to 9-1. I hopped all over it. And really throughout that Sunday round, I don't know if it's because maybe I didn't have the 28-1 number that was floating out there pre-tournament. I only got him at 9-1, as I mentioned, but I was never really worried about Max Homa coming away with the dub. And maybe some of that is because Sam Ryder was the guy he was chasing down, and not a knock on Sam Ryder, but a guy that's going for his first PGA Tour win on a really difficult back 9 stretch, obviously at a premier event on the PGA Tour. Like, that obviously factored into it, but I just had confidence the entire time that Max Homa was going to get the job done. And what'd he do? He pulls through down the stretch on 16, hits one of the best golf shots of the entire tournament to put it to 10 feet on a pin that most guys weren't within 40 feet of, goes to birdie it and wins the tournament. And yeah, just really putting himself in kind of a different level at this point now. And it's been really cool to see, cool to cash some money in on Max, who is also proven himself to be the king of California, just rattling off wins in California. I think 4 of his 6 wins have come in that state as well, his home state. So yeah, it's been fun to see kind of Max Homa, a cool personality, turn into also a golfing superstar. It's really cool how that's meshing, and obviously is good for the game of golf when a guy who has that much public outreach on social media is also one of the best in the entire world. You know what I mean?
It's great for the game of golf. I mean, I want to sit there. He's a guy that I want to root for even when I don't bet on. So, of course, you weren't sweating it out. It was a no-loss weekend for Mr. Jack Bushman, being that was your only bet, caught him live, and you hit the only bet that you placed. So great job on your part to catch that number live. And you kind of you felt it out, right? You felt out the tournament a little bit and was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to jump in there. And that's just great strategy. That's great live betting actionable advice that we can give people too. Hopefully, like as we move along here, we can start to tweet some of this stuff out, because we're not going to have shows as the tournaments are going on, but that's something that we can, if we see something, let's point it out there, and then hopefully some people can jump on there and we can all just start riding this train. We obviously want to hit the outrights ahead of time with the better number, like you mentioned, but we can hit outright live. That's good too. Like that's still making money. So that's what we're definitely looking to do. And Sam Ryder, like you said, dude, I mean, he had the mom jinx working for him, right? Like they kept showing his mom. They kept, she's pulling the mom card, trying to get to the front of the rope, and just like, which is great. I mean, I'm not saying anything bad about that, but of course, man, extra pressure on Sam Ryder to pull out that victory. And I felt really bad for him, but hey, at the same time, I think you were right. I mean, you were definitely right that this could be tough for him to pull this one out. I mean, leading for as long as he was leading to come away with a victory, I mean, the pressure just starts to mount at that point. And couldn't pull it out. But eventually we will see a Sam Ryder win. I can feel pretty confident about that. Like, you just knowing when it's going to happen, I have no idea. But no, we never know exactly. So, but Jack, looking ahead to this week, we got the Pro-Am. Obviously, it's the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. 3-day rotation across Pebble Beach golf links, Monterey Peninsula, and Spyglass Hill, Thursday through Sunday, with the top 60 and plus ties advancing to the final round. So the cut will be after that third round there. I can't stand it, Jack. I can't stand it. I'm just going to get this out there right now. I don't like this 3-course rotation thing. I don't even care that it's the Pro-Am. Like, cool, whatever. It doesn't really do much for me, if we're being honest. Like, I don't know. I mean, how excited are you, Jack, to see Aaron Rodgers and Josh Allen and Darius Rucker and Clint Eastwood and Bill Murray? Like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's the list of people I saw that are going to be there. I know Bill Murray is going to be there for sure, out there trying some like no-look shots again, which is actually kind of cool. But, Jack, how excited, or if not excited, are you for this tournament?
Yeah, not really excited at all, if I'm being honest. Like, I tune in to watch good golfers. Like, sure, there are probably going to be some fun snippets of Bill Murray doing something stupid. And I know Gareth Bale, who one of the most famous soccer/football. We're not going to get into that whole debate right now. He's going to be out there. Gareth Bale, who actually has some game. But I don't really care. And to use it on Pebble Beach, like one of the most historic courses in the entire world, I don't know. There's nothing I like about this event. I mentioned it a couple of weeks back. This 3-week stint, the American Express, Farmers, and Pebble Beach, I can't stand them from a betting perspective. It's a whole lot of guesswork, especially this week. The field's terrible because we have the Waste Management Phoenix Open and Genesis coming up the next 2 weeks, so not a lot of guys are here. Like, it's just really a damn shame that this is what Pebble Beach is being used on, a Pro-Am. The Saturday coverage is going to be unbearable to watch. You're literally going to be seeing shots from all the celebrities that no one cares about. It's a shame to me, and I don't love betting on it. Like I said, it kind of just feels like a crapshoot at this point, because we only get Shot Tracker from Pebble Beach golf links, where they'll play 2 of the 4 rounds, so you don't even get half of the data from the entire tournament. The rounds take 6 to 7 hours because all the pros are paired with 2 amateurs who are going to go golf in the 80s or 90s if they're lucky. The rounds are going to take forever. I'm just really not a fan of this event, and I personally don't think Pro-Ams like necessarily need to be part of the PGA Tour schedule anymore. I get, as part of trying to grow the game, it's not a bad idea. I just much rather use it on not Pebble Beach. Like, I feel like, the scheduling certainly doesn't do the field strength any favors, with Farmers being last week and 2 good ones coming up the following 2 weeks. But also the fact that guys have to go out there for longer than they want to be out there. I'm sure the fact that this is a Pro-Am doesn't draw anyone towards this event. Like, none of the guys, none of the professional golfers are playing this event because, oh, it's a fun Pro-Am. Like, they want to be there because it's Pebble Beach. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. It feels like this tournament's turned into all about the Pro-Am and the celebrities that are going to be there. I don't really like it, but hopefully we can win some money on it. Probably not as much as we deserve to make, though, because the odds board for this week is just as disgusting as the field. It's not great. So it's kind of unfortunate that this is what the Pebble Beach Pro-Am has kind of turned into at this point, a celebrity event that golf fans really don't care all that much about. I think it'll be cool. It won't matter until Sunday is basically how I put it, Joey. Like I won't care about anything that happens until everyone's on Pebble Beach for the final round. That's all I'll really care about. The first 3 days are kind of meaningless. So it's tough, but fortunately on the bright side, we got some really good events coming up after this. Like this is, when the Super Bowl finishes, football season comes to a close and golf season really starts to take over. That's when we get into a full swing, start to get really good events like each and every week. So kind of just got to swallow the pill that is the Pebble Beach Pro-Am this year, Joey.
The pill that is not real golf, basically. I mean, you're right, though. Sunday, that's when it's going to kind of get interesting, and that's when we're going to really care if our top 40s hit, if our top 10s, top 20s, our outrights hit Sunday. Like, give me the results. I'm probably not even going to watch much of this until Sunday, if we're just being 100% honest. And then I'm going to rely on numbers and see who did what in what categories and where, even though, like, this could be just completely random. Like, speaking of that, I kind of want you to break down the courses, if you can, a little bit here. I know the last round will be Pebble Beach Golf Links, the final round. But then, like I said, they're doing that 3-day rotation across the courses, which I can't stand. Like, if you want to do 2, fine. Like, do the third one the next week. Make that its own event, right? Like, that's just my opinion. Maybe I'm way off on that, and maybe they'll probably never do that with this event in particular now. But I just can't stand that part of it. Jack, what are your thoughts on these courses? Like, what are you looking for as far as stats go when you were breaking down this board here?
Yeah, not a fan of the 3-course rotation because it just makes it more difficult to kind of take a look at what are the key statistics and the player types that you kind of want to build on, or what types of players you want to throw money on this week. Fortunately, the one good thing about this event is all 3 of these courses do play kind of similar, Joey. They're all right around 7,000 yards. Spyglass Hill is actually the only one that gets over 7,000 yards. Both Monterey Peninsula and Pebble Beach are under 7,000 yards. So some of the shortest courses on the PGA Tour. Obviously, if you know anything about Pebble Beach, it's a coastal track that's right there on the ocean. So wind is kind of the main defense for this course. Other than that, it really turns into kind of a wedge and putting fest at all 3 events. With the course being so short, most people just tend to go with less than driver, go put it out in the fairway. Like, distance isn't really a thing at any of these courses because they're so short. So it's kind of like off the tee, go club down, go hit your fairway, leave yourself a good number in, and then hopefully, you can put it within 10, 15 feet. The challenge is, other than the wind, this tournament has some of the smallest greens on the PGA Tour. Pebble Beach Golf Links in particular has really tiny greens, and even Monterey Peninsula, which has the largest greens of this tournament, still some of the still below tour average, excuse me. So they're some of the smallest greens. That's really going to be the kind of tricky factor, is whether or not you're going to be able to hit them consistently from your number in the fairway. So strokes gained approach is going to be really key. I think you can kind of look at good drives gained if you want some statistics off the tee, although I think it is kind of all jumbled up in this event because everyone's teeing down and going for accuracy. When you club down, you're going to be more accurate as a result. You lose distance, you gain accuracy. That's how it works. So I really do think it's going to come down to wedges and putting, though, Joey. I think that's kind of the nature of the beast of this tournament. And I think it's important for both strokes gained approach and strokes gained around the greens to be part of the research this week, because you can kind of get it done in different ways. The scoring doesn't tend to be bananas here. Like, we've seen the winning score be 19 under, I think, 4 of the last 5 years or 5 of the last 6 years or something like that. So scoring isn't crazy. You certainly can make birdies here, but you could also get by shooting, 3, 4 under every day, getting out of some holes with pars and just really not making bogeys. So I think it's important to look at both strokes gained approach and strokes gained around the green. And then also strokes gained putting, I think, is going to be crucial. because we're on POA greens for the first time. We saw him a little bit at the Farmers Insurance Open last week, but now we're strictly on POA greens here for Pebble Beach Golf Links, and that's just kind of a surface you don't see a ton of on the PGA Tour. So I think it's also worth going back and looking at who historically has kind of found success on those putting surfaces, because they are just a little bit different than what you see in years past. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Guys who are short game specialists are really good with their wedges. A lot of shots here come from between 75 and 150 yards. So I think that's kind of a proximity area to look at. And then one other thing I do believe is worth mentioning is course history kind of seems to be a little bit relative here. Like some of the same names have kind of finished at or near the top of the leaderboard year after year. Jason Day, who we talked about prior to the show, who Joey over here loves blowing his money on. I don't know why he's not
True
this week, because he's a guy who has had a lot of success at Pebble Beach in the past, not here this week. But I do think it's worth looking back. Some events you can kind of, I think, throw course history and recent results. You can throw them out the window, but I don't think that's true here at Pebble Beach. I think it's kind of worth looking at how guys have done. And also, each of the last 15 winners have posted at least a top 25 finish in a previous result at Pebble Beach. So that's one thing to consider as well. That's kind of how I'm going about breaking things down for this week, dude.
I like that, man. That's a lot that you baked in there, with it being for me, like looking at it, I'm like, well, I can name like a couple things here that I'm looking at, and the rest of it I have no fucking clue this week, because you look at the win factors too, right? Like you don't know which track everybody. I mean, I know we're gonna get who's gonna tee off where the first round and all that, and I mean they do have the lineups, but what's the weather gonna be like while they're at each track too? And I think that's important, because one of them, you got closer to the coast than the other one, so and the wind can bite down a little bit harder and make it more difficult. I do think, like you said, it's going to come down to iron play and putting. And then, the wedge master too, like Tom Hoagie, right? Like we saw him win last year. So speaking of guys who have had success here, obviously that was big for me, because I think I caught him at like 65 or 70 to 1 or something crazy last year. Very nice hit. Past winners, though, and you kind of mentioned this too, of being 19 under recently. Since 2016, the past winners here have been between 17 under and 19 under, all since 2016, that range there. So since then, Vaughn Taylor in 2016, Jordan Spieth 2017, Ted Potter Jr. in 18, Phil Mickelson. Mickelson's won here 5 times. Like that dude, Brant Snedker's won here twice. Nick Taylor won in 2020, Daniel Berger in 2021, and then, of course, Hoagie last year, which was awesome. But, yeah, man, the key stats I was looking at, same thing as you. Exactly same thing. I didn't even look at the driving stuff, except for a little bit of good drives gained. That's kind of something I picked up from you, if we're being completely honest. The good drives gained number, you always talk about it every week. So I started to look into that a little bit more. Strokes gained approach, proximity. I think I cut down from I expanded mine to 75 to 150 yards. Is kind of how I used that bucket. I didn't really want to do because proximity, I was thinking 100 to 125, that range, but I kind of want to just expand it a little bit more than that for this. Around the green and then putting, obviously. So, yeah, the randomness, man. Initial golfers. I wrote down a lot of golfers that I initially liked, and then I had to keep diving because I didn't like these numbers, Jack. Let's get into it. Top of the board, Matthew Fitzpatrick, 11 to 1. Jordan Spieth, 12 to 1. Victor Hovland, 12 to 1. Maverick McNeely, 19 to 1. Seamus Power, 25. And Hoagie, 25 to 1. That's pretty much your top 6. Give you a little 6-pack there, Jack. Anything you're on? I mean, all these guys make sense for numerous different reasons. This field sucks outside of these guys.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that these are the top 6 guys in the field this week. Don't love the odds really on any of them. I will say, I think 25 to 1 for Tom Hoagie is pretty fair. I'm definitely going to have money on one of these guys. Just in the golf world that we live in right now, big time names are winning more frequently than ever. One thing that I picked up, just even going back and looking through my betting wins on golf in my career, I've never hit an outright larger than 40 to 1. So I'm just like, should I just stop? Should I just ignore that range forever? Like,
Maybe.
we're seeing favorites win more often. I've never hit one larger than 40-1. I don't know. There's maybe something to be said about that. And
well, you know what though, too? All right, here's the point too that I want to make real fast. If you do that, and I just bet the outrights, one of us are guaranteed. Well, not guaranteed, but like we're pretty much like narrowing down. Like one of us are going to win each week if we kind of do that. Maybe we kind of like put a pool of money together and we just kind of split the profit at the end of the year. Like, hey, you bet this top side, I bet that bottom side. We'll see how we come out at the end of the season.
That might not be a bad idea because you seem to be the one that has the long shots and want to be playing them every week. I'm kind of the opposite strategy. I'm just happy to be winning money. I know that, obviously the lower numbers aren't paying out as much, but they seem to be hitting more frequently. So that's why I'm attracted to the top of the board here. I would say Spieth and Hovland are probably the two that I'm debating between the most. Jordan Spieth just has an incredible track record here. I mean, even when he was bad, Jordan Spieth was still playing well here. He should have won last year before he gagged it away. He's just been in contention so many times at Pebble Beach. He's only won once, but obviously there's something about this course and about shorter courses in general. Jordan Spieth just seems to love him some shorter courses like the Valero Texas Open. He won in Harbor Town late last year as well. So like, I think Jordan Spieth makes a lot of sense. You also get him with wedge in his hand a lot. You love Jordan Spieth with wedges. So I do like Spieth, probably more than I like Victor Hovland, if I'm being honest. Hovland, we're in the United States, so Victor Hovland just also doesn't win there. But at the same time, he did win the U.S. Amateur at Pebble Beach. So that's kind of the only reason why I feel like if there's somewhere for Victor Hovland to finally break out and win in North America, it's a place that he's actually done it at before, kind of like Matt Fitzpatrick when he won the U.S. Amateur and then went on to win the U.S. Open. I don't know. It's tough to make a decision here at the board. I kind of might just go with Spieth and leave it at that. Maverick McNeely, though, is another guy who has some really good course history here. Really like Maverick McNeely. Anytime the greens are smaller, I'm just like, I'm someone who doesn't really bet Maverick McNeely all that often. So like, I don't really feel as inclined to go and place a wager on him this week as much as other people will. And then Seamus Power, I'm not going to get to him at 25-1. I understand why he's kind of risen into this grouping with a win in the swing season and some good play. But I think, man, Jordan Spieth is probably the one that I find myself drawing to the most here, just given the successful course history. He's probably the one that I like the most in this group. Hovland and Hoagie are probably the next two up that have me thinking right now, but I'd probably go Spieth, Hovland, Hoagie in that order from the top of the board. What do you think?
I mean, I can make a case for all these guys right now. That's the hardest part. It usually is. The top of the board usually is. There's like one or two that I can kind of like throw away usually every week. And this week I kind of found myself not being able to throw away like one. There wasn't that key guy that I could say, yeah, not him this week at the top of that price. Like they all make sense. Spieth, man. I think I'm looking at him more so for a top 10 this week than actually betting him just because of the price. But I saw him at plus 150, top 10. I like that. 6 of his 10 Pebble Beach Pro-Am events, he's finished within the top 10. And obviously has the win. 3 of 4 where he didn't finish top 10. He finished 20, 21st, and 22nd. So basically one Pro-Am worse than 22nd. I'm kind of leaning Spieth there for at least the top 10. I mean, it would not shock me at all to see him win this thing. I think he's been a little bit cooler, though, in this season so far. So I'm a little bit worried about where Spieth completely is right now. Hoagie, yeah, man, I don't know. Like, I can't do it just because, like, I feel like it'll be meaningless what he did for me last season winning here. And it's always tough to repeat, man. Like, it just really is at the same event, even though, like, if you feel good at the event, you feel good at the event. But Mr. Hoagie Buns, I need that win to mean something, so I'm not going to bet him this week. Fitzpatrick, did we talk about him? He was in that group?
I don't know. I feel like Matt Fitzpatrick would be a good one and done play. I just don't know if I want to bet on him to win, especially at that number. I'd rather bet him at like the U.S. Open at that number, to be honest.
I feel it. I was looking at the Roto Grinders projections, and they have him as the highest percentage likelihood to win this tournament, and that kind of sticks out to me. But I'm like, yeah, that price I don't like. He's very well rounded, but
I think that also had Brian Harmon most likely to win like the Sony Open a couple weeks ago too.
Don't you dare mention that little weasel's name. No, yeah, I'm with you though. I just hate paying the piper here for him and for Seamus Power. I mean, Power's inside the top 30 in the world now. I mean, he's coastal track, right? Like this should be a perfect setup for Power. He's fifth in the FedEx Cup standings now. McNeely still chasing that first PGA Tour win, man. Like runner up here at Pebble Beach 2 years ago. Started 2023 pretty well too, man. T7 at Sony Open, already 3 top 10s. It really feels like it's a matter of when and not if for him to get that first win. Kind of with you though. I can't it's got to be a better number. It really does. And so I'm avoiding completely, and I hate doing it. But I am avoiding this entire top group here. I am not starting my card until 45 to 1, Jack.
That's pretty
45 to 1. I'm avoiding it completely. I'll probably find some props like Fitzpatrick top 20, probably going to do that. Speed top 10, I'll probably do that. And then other than that, maybe a live bet. If I see somebody like really on fire too, especially here, it's going to be hard for me to really think that one of those guys that top, even at the longer odds, really has a shot. So
two things I will say about that. One, it's kind of been, if you look at the winners at Pebble Beach in the past 10 years or so, it's kind of been absolute bombs or the top of the board. The one guy who was kind of in that middle range was Tom Hoagie last year. Like it's usually 100 or 200 to 1 or one of the favorites. So I understand completely kind of shutting out that group if that's the way you want to go about it. And that's the way I know you usually prefer to do things. And then also with the live lines, one thing I will say with these 3-course rotation type events, that's where you can catch good numbers in some guys, because especially when there's only TV cameras on one course and shot tracker on one course, like all the focus could be on Pebble Beach on Saturday afternoon, and there's someone on Monterey who's 7 under lighting it up, and you can catch them at a good number. So I will say Friday and Saturday for this event, if you want to bet on something live, certainly worth taking a look at some sports books.
Yeah, I vouch for that statement. I think that's a great way to play it. And that's probably how I will play this thing, honestly. Like right now, I think I have 6 bets locked in for outrights. And starting the card at 45 to 1, it doesn't make me feel great, but it just kind of goes to show you that the course history, in my opinion, could mean a little bit more here at this course, right? The randomness of this course. We'll see what happens. But moving down the board here a little bit, Andrew Putnam, 28 to 1, who, I mean, he could be really good here. I hate that number, but 28 to 1 for Andrew Putnam. Justin Rose, Keith Mitchell, 35 to 1. Both those guys. Denny McCarthy, the short game specialist, 40 to 1. Matt Kuchar, the old man, 40 to 1. Joel Damon, bucket hat, the bucket hat with the stash, 45 to 1. Alex Smalley, 46 to 1. Anybody in this group, Jack, as you move down here?
I honestly think I'm going to be skipping this group. I will say Andrew Putnam it's been a good past couple of months for old Mr. Putnam. He's someone I usually don't even think about betting. 28 to 1 though, not going to be the week for me to jump all aboard that train. No, I'm probably going to pass up this group. The 2 guys I have the most interest in are probably Kuchar and Damon. I was on Kuchar at the Sony Open, another short track where distance doesn't matter. That's where you want to play Kuchar theoretically. And he had a pretty good finish there, so maybe I'll go back to Kuchar. I don't know. Him and Damon are probably the 2 ones that interest me the most. What about you? You liking anyone from this range?
Man, we talked about Thomas Dietrich being that safe kind of like top 40 guy recently. I remember we've had that conversation, and we've bet on him for some top 40s. Andrew Putnam kind of feels like that safe top 40 guy right now. I know we're not there to the prop section yet, but that's something I might consider. Who knows about a victory? I don't know. A couple top 5s already this season, finished 6th here last year. Something I'd consider, but I really hate that price. You mentioned the guy. This is where I'm starting my card, Jack. the bucket hat with the stash. Joel Damon, 45-1 on Bet Rivers, our sponsor, with the enhanced boost odds. Enter the promo code ONTAP for an up to $250 deposit match at Bet Rivers. That's promo code ONTAP for an up to $250 deposit match. Boom, let's go, Joel Damon. I think, dude, he's back, and he just had a kid. First event since becoming a father. The dad strength with the bucket hat, with the stash. I really think he's a good fit. I think he's been playing really, really well, too, for the most part, recently, too, in the fall swing and all that. So, yeah, Joel Damon, I think maybe fresh. Maybe he might not have a lot of sleep that he's getting in these days, fresh, just having the kid, but I think he could come in there a little bit relaxed, like, hey, let's just go out there and golf. It's nice to be out and doing something different than just, watching after a crying baby or waking up in the middle of the night, So Damon, I do like him this week. That's where I started the card. 50-1, we got Dean Burmester, the Mista guy. That safe-ish top 40 guy, Thomas Dietrich, is 50-1. Big Papa Pump, Scott Stallings, 60-1. Taylor Pendrith is 60-1. Ben Griffin is 66-1. He was someone I was on last week. Bo Hostler, 70-1. Davis Riley, 70-1. Kurt Kitayama. That's an entire range by itself. Let's stop right there at 66 with Ben Griffin, or maybe a couple of those guys I mentioned. But 70-1, there's a lot of guys there.
Yeah, this is probably the range that intrigues me the most, honestly. I think Thomas Dietrich is probably going to be a bet for me at 50-1. I just do believe in his talent. I know there are a lot of people out in the golf world that believe in his talent too. I think he's one of the actual better players in this range. So I like that number at 50-1. Scott Stallings is also another guy who's had some good course history here recently. He's kind of faded after he kind of caught a heater early in the fall, I guess I should say. But still, I mentioned earlier how course history kind of plays a factor here, and there aren't many guys who has better course history than Scott Stallings. So Dietrich, Stallings, and then Ben Griffin is someone who I've been eyeing too. He's just been – maybe he's the top 40 guy that we should be taking every week, because Ben Griffin, his approach play has been phenomenal as of late. I like a lot of guys in this range. Bo Hostler is someone I've seen kind of jump out. My thing about Bo Hostler is every time I've seen him in contention on Sunday, his driver goes to absolute shit, and it just feels like he's like Diet Keegan. Like, I know Keegan gets the Sunday scaries out there.
Hey, man.
Bo Hostler's like less talent. Listen, that's different. That was Keegan from behind. If Keegan
that's fair.
Keegan had the lead, he would not have been doing that. I am 100% confident.
But listen, maybe he's figured it out a little bit now. I don't know, with that win.
I love that for Keegan. I'm a Keegan truther.
I know you are
over here, but I've watched that motherfucker. Even the Zozo, he tried to gag it. He tried to gag it against Putnam. He tried. He was kind of fortunate to still come away with that win, because Putnam gagged it away on 17-2 himself. But I feel like Bo Hostler is like the less talented Keegan Bradley, where it's like, I don't even trust his game. I barely trust his game to bet on him. I don't trust it at all on Sundays. So I'm probably not going to get there on Bo, but this kind of feels like the place to bet on Bo Hostler at the same time. So if you have more courage than I do, I do believe in Bo Hostler's game. I just don't know if I believe in it on the back nine come Sundays. But I think this range is really interesting, and this is kind of going to dictate what I'm going to do up at the top, because realistically, there are 3 or 4 guys I'm going to bet from this 50 to 70 to 80 range probably. And if I'm going to be, doing that, I got to be careful about how much availability I'm going to have at the top. So at the same time, I just mentioned earlier, I've never won a bet larger than 40-1. So what am I doing?
What are you doing?
What am I doing? Falling in love with all these numbers down here. I've just talked about how none of these guys win these events anymore.
Well, maybe that's what my problem ultimately is too. Maybe they just look too damn sexy. The numbers just look too sexy, and we just can't avoid it, even though, like, we're smart enough to realize these guys more than likely are not winning, and that's the reason why they're priced this way. But at this event, it's happened, and you've said that. So I don't know, man. Ben Griffin, though, a lot of the models seem to like him this week. And he was a golfer, as I mentioned before, that he was someone I was on last week at the Farmers. Turned in a T31 a really rough third round for him, 77. He shot in that third round. Overall solid, though. He's had decent success at similar courses this season. 60-1 is where I grabbed him. He was pretty much everywhere when I bet him, but he's 66 now, I think. There's a price out there, 66, so I like that even more. So I don't know, maybe I bet him a little too soon there, but yeah, he's the guy out of this range I'm probably on. I definitely understand it with Scott Stallings and a couple of these other guys. Stallings just feels like that boomer bust type of guy, even though with the course history here for him, he's a guy that is very hit or miss from a weekly basis to a even a season-long basis. Like, it might not matter with him as much for course history. He's that random type of guy, in my opinion, where I just don't know when to bet him. And I've done it before, and I might just start avoiding him from now on because I have no fucking clue. Like, unless he's like 100-1, like, I can't even gauge when he's going to actually have a good week. It's not even the outright, because I have not hit an outright with him, of course. But, like, I can't even gauge when he's going to have a good week at this point. So I think I'm off of Stallings. Does make a ton of sense, though. Looking at the rest of these names here, Davis Riley 70-1, Kurt Kitayama 70-1, Nick Hardy 70-1, Nick Taylor, previous winner here 70-1, Taylor Moore 70-1, Trey Mullinax 70-1, Will Gordon also 70-1. I mean, I should just stop saying 70-1. I should just listed all these damn names and then said 70-1. But we don't think that well in advance. SH Kim 75-1. And then there's the 80 range guys. Like, we are talking about a ton of guys with some pretty damn good numbers here, but all under 100-1. So what do you think, Jack, from that long list of names I just mentioned at 70-1?
Yeah, the couple that stand out to me, honestly, Nick Taylor. I know he's won here, but a guy who regularly plays well at this event, 70-1 seems like a pretty fair number. Asking him to win again might be a little bit much, but he was kind of the one that stood out to me. Davis Riley is someone who's bet on Davis Riley a lot. That seems like a pretty fair number, but his putter has just been atrocious as of late and seems like he's kind of faded. So I'm probably not going to ultimately end up getting there. Will Gordon is a little bit intriguing, although I feel like I'd like him more on a course where he can use the driver to his strength. So
how much history does he have here, too? I'm like,
I don't know if he does, to be honest.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm like. Not that matters. Like, I like his talent, though, like you do.
He has one start here. He came 21st in 2021.
Oh, okay. All right.
So,
good for one start, yeah.
This range, if it feels like if it's going to be anyone for me, it'll probably just be Nick Taylor. I don't see myself getting on Will Gordon.
Well, we're pretty much aligned at this point. I do have a lot of interest in Kurt Kitayama, and I haven't decided quite yet if I'm going to bet him or not. That might be a guy I add to the card. He kind of pops up as an expected win guy this year. Played some pretty decent golf. I know a lot of people in the industry like him a lot. David Lipsky, 70-1. I'm not quite sure did I even mention him among this group of names here?
I don't know. You might have missed him, but
because he's 80-1 at somewhere now. See, I got some bad numbers here. So 70-1 is where I bet him at. Now he's 80-1 somewhere. You could find him at. So great. I missed the boat with a couple of these numbers, but Lipsky, man, he's found some success on the coastal windy tracks, which is something I wanted to see for this week in particular. You talk about the good drives gained all the time, Jack, almost weekly, and you mentioned it earlier in the show. Lipsky is top 15 in good drives gained, strokes gained approach, proximity 75 to 150 yards, opportunities gained, and strokes gained around the green. So, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot to like about Lipsky right now, and I kind of feel like he could pop off this week. Nick Taylor is the other guy. I had to do it. Obviously, he's one of his 2 victories on the PGA Tour came here, the 2019-2020 season. Sanderson Farms in 14 and 15 was the other one. But not only that, though, in the 8 Pro-Ams here, he's finished within the top 40 6 times. So, I mean, coming off a missed cut at the Amex, T7 at the Sony Open, and had some good finishes before the end of the fall swing season. Generally, he's a guy that doesn't have a ton of missed cuts in a row, too. I was looking at his kind of trends. and he tends to bounce back pretty quickly. So I think Taylor could be in for a solid week here and maybe a bounce back. If not a win, I think he's going to do well. So why not take him at that 70-1 on Bet Rivers or 80-1? If he reached 80-1, he's probably going to go back up too because I'm just getting the horrible numbers here. But what do you think about Lipsky this week, Jack? Any thoughts on Lipsky? I know he's been kind of popping lately, and people were starting to talk about him.
Yeah, he had a decent finish to the fall swing and then came fourth at the Sony Open. His approach numbers have been really popping over the last month and a half. You mentioned with accuracy. I'm looking at his numbers on Data Golf right now. This guy basically every week is gaining with accuracy. So clubbing down should play right into his advantage, a guy who's good with his irons. My one worry is that when it seems like when he putts bad, he putts really fucking bad. Like minus 5.22 strokes at the RSM Classic, minus 4.31 at the American Express. That's my one concern I have with Lipsky is like if the putter's not going, it's like atrocious. But at the same time, it does seem like he's found something here as of late. So that's what I'm gonna have to think about now that you brought that up.
He's a name. He's definitely a name for sure. And I think if it's not this week, I think he will get a win or at least threaten a victory at some point again here soon. Because I think he's right on the verge there of, maybe he does putt bad this week. We don't know how that's always like a hit and miss type of thing with the putter. And that's why we don't look at that number. We don't weigh it too heavily, even the strokes gained putting. We like to look at that, but it's very tough to kind of repeat week in, week out, unless you're a Taylor Montgomery, apparently.
Yeah.
But Brendan Todd, he's 80-1. Justin Sue's 80-1. Nate Lashley, this could be a Nate Lashley course. Russell Knox has had a lot of success here. He's also 80-1. Matthew Neesmith let me down a week or two, but he's 85-1. He's at a pretty good number now. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. Callum Tarrant, I do like Callum Tarrant quite a bit. Usually it's at like 150 plus to 1, something like that. But 90-1, not horrible in this field. Grayson Sigg, 90-1. Lanto Griffin is 90-1. Robbie Shelton. This guy, everywhere I go, somebody's saying something about Robbie Shelton. And I have really yet to bet him. And I don't know what to do. Like, Russell Knox is probably the guy, him and Neesmith, out of this range that I'm probably the most seriously considering. But I have not bet any of these guys. Have you put any money down on one of these guys?
No, but this range is interesting. Yeah, that's funny. There is a lot of Bobby Shelton truthers out there in the world. That's for sure. I'm not there. I'm not going to start now. Maybe it's a mistake, to be determined. Russell Knox, I don't know if I ever like Russell Knox to win. I've done it a couple of times, and it's like I feel like this guy's ceiling is kind of like coming inside the top 10. Like that's almost a win for Russell Knox. I do think he's a good number, and he has good course history, but he's never really like actually contended. You mentioned Matthew Neesmith, who's been really disappointing in his first couple of starts here in 2023 after tearing it up in the fall. I had him at the Shriners as a one and done where he came second. It's just kind of been all downhill for him since. I don't see me getting back on right now with the way that he's been playing as of late, sadly. The one that interested me the most was Lanto Griffin because he has some good course history here, but he also has been out with an injury as of late. So I don't really know what to do with this range, if I'm being honest. I'll probably just end up leaving it alone. Once it gets to 80-1, I just don't have all that much interest. It feels like 100-1 is like what 200-1 was like a year ago. Like you're not even like looking at it anymore because those guys just don't win all that much,
But when does that start to swing around, though? Like, these golf models can't be that fucking good every week, right? I mean, are they just that much improved, like the tweaks that everyone's making now with the proximity factors, with all this stuff that, like, because we still feel like we're finding value in the 50-1 range and stuff at times, right? So if we still feel like we're finding value down the board, there has to be something that the models aren't quite picking up. That goes with every sport, right? So, like, that's where I'm trying to figure this out as, is it always going to be from here on out where you're getting like 30-1 or better numbers or lower odds, I should say? Or is it just kind of like, all right, we're going through this long stretch of John Rahm's in the field and just bet John Rahm or like somebody like that. It's kind of how it feels a lot of weeks. And I don't know what Homa was last week. What was his? I forget what his odds were, but
he was 28-1.
28-1. Okay, so yeah, 30-1 or below. Basically, it kind of feels like I don't know, man. I'm hoping it swings back around for my sake because I find it more boring when I'm hitting those guys at the top. But if you if you kind of narrow in on like 2 or 3 guys near the top, you're gonna make a ton of money throughout the season. Like if you're hitting your outrights, you're gonna make a ton of money. So who am I to say anything bad about it? I kind of skip past this range as well, for being honest right now. Russell Knox is somebody who I might consider. 6 of his last 8 events here within the top 40. I'll probably end up betting him at some capacity, not an outright. Going past the board, 100-1 and up. Do you have anybody that's past that 100-1 range or 100 and up?
There are a couple guys that are intriguing. I'll probably only get to one of them, maybe. Kevin Kisner, 100-1. I'm not going to bet it, but I do think that's like a really interesting number. I know he hasn't played in quite some time, but we know Kisner courses, short, wedge, putter. That's what he likes. So I know he'd probably prefer it to be in the Southeast, but 100-1 on Kevin Kisner, I don't think is a terrible number. Kevin Streelman, 125-1. I don't know if anyone has better course history without a win here than Kevin Streelman. The problem is he never wins, like literally ever. I think he has to be one of the most, has made the most money out of anyone who, I know he's won before, but limited wins. It just feels like betting on him outright isn't the way to do it. I know the value looks incredible at 125-1, but is Kevin Streelman actually going to win, or is he just going to play really good and come T8? Like, that's probably the more likely scenario. But if you feel like, it's worth a risk, 125-1 is a good number on Streelman. The guy that I probably like the most plus 100-1 is Troy Merritt. 125-1. That's probably a good enough number to get my money. That's probably the way I'm going to go over 100-1 is Troy Merritt.
Well, I love that you just mentioned the 2 guys I'm betting past 100-1.
There you go.
Kevin Streelman and Troy Merritt. Both those guys 125-1 on Bet Rivers. Merritt missed the cut each of his first 6 trips here to Pebble Beach. But 25th or better in each of his last 4 trips, including a T4 and a T8. So kind of liking the way that's trending. He's kind of maybe figuring this out a little bit here at Pebble Beach. So Merritt, definitely don't mind it. We've seen the upside with him before, so kind of like that. Streelman, since 2017, he has the second lowest scoring average in the Pebble Beach Pro-Am to Jordan Spieth with a minimum number of 10 rounds, 69.35 scoring average here. Not to mention top 20 in 6 of his last 7 trips here. A guy you want history here. 20 years ago, that's when this guy turned pro. So he's had a lot of trips here. So I definitely like the Kevin Streelman this week. Like you said, is he gonna win? I don't know. If he's in it near the end with up against like a Matthew Fitzpatrick or like maybe a closer like Jordan Spieth, I don't really like my odds. But like if he's up there against, Scott Stallings or someone like that, or, maybe he can pull out a victory. So kind of just hoping for that. Jack, anybody else? I don't want to list off all these names. I know Ryan Palmer's been pretty interesting to me lately, at least last week. I'm not going to do it. Jimmy Walker, he's won this event before, right?
Like 20 years ago when he was actually someone.
Yeah, I don't see that happening now. No. Kevin Tway, you want like a little interesting prop. I think him to miss the cut is plus money on a certain book right now. So check that out.
Really?
I don't mind that. I might end up betting that. I believe it was on FanDuel. I'll give him a little free promo here. I think he was plus money to miss the cut, and I kind of like that. Let's see here. Anything else that you see? I don't really see. Oh, and Yachun Yuan. I don't even really know how to say his name. He's plus money to miss the cut on FanDuel as well. So
bones out here.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like these are kind of like some gifts, right? Did they mean to say make the cut? Like I don't. Mark Hubbard's kind of interesting. Holy shit, dude! Adam Schenk is 230-1 in this field. I can't do it. I know. I just throw it out there.
Anyone with the last name Shank doesn't deserve your money in the game of golf.
Yeah, I've learned my lesson probably.
He's
I've
also
done it
never done
before.
anything here. His best finish is T45 in 2019.
I know. I looked it up earlier, but I had to throw the name out there. Jack, props this week. You got any props?
I had 2 top 20s that stood out to me. Kevin Streelman plus 360 top 20, and then Troy Merritt with the same odds plus 360 top 20. I'm going to bet both those for sure.
All right. Getting some juicy money for the top
Absolutely.
20. Definitely like those. I think I mentioned mine. Speed top 10. Fitzpatrick probably top 20 or top 10. Haven't quite. I don't know what his price is on the top 20. If it's minus odds for a top 20, don't do it. Probably will be minus odds. But I do like that. Russell Knox top 40. I think that looks all right. There's quite a few here in the top 40 range that I'll end up putting out there later that I don't have right now. Probably Andrew Putnam as well for a top either 40 or 20. Kind of trying to debate that. I'll look up some numbers and tweet this stuff out later on and find some head-to-heads too. I think the head-to-heads I've been really doing pretty well with lately. I think I had Ryan Palmer over Sebastian Moon. Was it Munoz last week?
Oh, we got to pour one out for old Munoz.
Yeah, that was he. And then he's going to live, right?
He's gone.
Yep. Pour one out. I like your little pour one out there. That's what we have to do. It's got to be a tradition on this show when somebody goes to live. And there could be more going because what was it? The Invitational. A lot of guys are playing over there this weekend, right?
That is true. It is a big weekend for live golf.
I hate this. I hate this so much. Let's go to something positive. Jack, it's negative for me, but it's positive for you. One and done. I have not decided yet, but you have first pick because you're still way up in the points on the leaderboard. Who you got this week?
Yeah, good question. I'm kind of considering burning Jordan Spieth. I think I'm going to wait until the Valero Texas Open, though, I think is what I'm going to use Spieth. Who do I want to use here? I can't use Joel Damon. Where did I use Joel Damon? Somewhere dumb, I think. I used him at the RSM, and he came in 5th, so it actually worked out. This is tough.
It is tough.
You know what? I'm going to throw a curveball, and I'm going to go with Seamus Power.
Ooh. I like that pick. I do like that pick.
Wedges, Coastal. I don't know if I love Seamus Power 25-1, but I like him on this course fit. So I'm going Seamus Power.
Have I picked Matthew Fitzpatrick yet?
Wow, this would be quite a time to use him. No, you have not.
Man, you know what I really just hate doing? Did you bet? Are you betting Seamus Power outright? I can't remember. I think you said you were, right? Or
probably not. 20. Maybe I'll get there. It depends what I do at the top. I feel like if I bet Spieth, I probably won't. Maybe I'll just bet Power and Hoagie together and just ignore the top. Depends on what I want to do.
Well, see, this is the reason why I ask. Because I'm wondering, are we overthinking this? Why don't we ever bet? Well, I have before, and I know you have before, but why don't we always just bet somebody we're betting outright? Like, if we feel that strongly about them to win the tournament, why are we not just always betting someone? And in your case, you can't always do that because you're looking a lot top of the board. But, like, if I feel like somebody's going to win, I don't know. Like, I don't want to overthink it. At the same time, Matthew Fitzpatrick, I don't want to bet him outright. So I'm like, that's where I'm going back and forth here.
I understand what you're saying for sure. I mean, if you're wagering money on them, you should probably feel confident enough to go with them in the one and done. The thing is, you can only use them once. And I might I like Jordan Spieth more at Valero than I do here.
Mm-hmm.
So
I get it. I get it. I don't really want to do Damon just freshly returning though, as my one and done. That's kind of where I'm at with that. But you know what?
You haven't used him.
I haven't used Damon yet.
No, I used Joel Damon. You have not.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and go with let's go. We're going to go big dog hunting this week. Let's go Matthew Fitzpatrick.
Wow.
Let's do it.
That's big.
Let's do it. Yeah, he's probably going to get the rest of the money that I haven't bet yet that I was throwing back and forth between Kitayama and whoever else I was considering. I think the next amount of money that I put on outrights is probably going on Fitzpatrick just because of this decision right here.
This is big. I mean, you've used Justin Thomas, Sung Jae, and Fitzpatrick now.
Hey man, if there's a week that I need to catch up though.
True.
Who'd you pick? You picked Power, right?
I took Seamus Power.
Yeah, and that's still a pretty big dog. Like
it is relatively.
For this field, yeah, right. For this field, it's a big dog. I guess it's not like a shit. Have I picked Putnam yet?
You used Putnam at the American Express.
No, yeah, okay. And that didn't really work out that well.
He came in 36th.
Yeah.
I gained on you that week. I had Siwoo.
Yeah. All right. We're just going to leave it at that. I'm going to leave it with Fitzpatrick. Don't love it. Don't hate it. I should feel pretty good about it, but I don't like using them this early. Jack, any final thoughts before we head into this clown show this weekend that is the Pro-Am, where we have to watch Aaron Rodgers out there yucking it up and strutting around?
Yeah, I wish it could be Sunday already. I just want to get to Sunday. It's the only day of this tournament that I really give a damn about. And then even we could just get through this event and get into the Waste Management, which is going to be a lot of fun, Super Bowl weekend, and then Riviera the following weekend, the Florida Swing with the Honda, API, and the Players. Masters is going to be here sooner than we know it, brother. So
it's right around the corner.
I'm excited for that. Excited to get done with these course rotations. They're absolutely brutal. I don't like them whatsoever. Fortunate that I caught a 9-1 Max Homa last week to kind of cover for my losses so far here to start 2023. So hopefully we can get the ball rolling and get another outright this week, big dog.
What are you up to now? 5 or 6?
In this season?
Yeah, it's got to be up there.
4. I have 4 in this 2022-2023 PGA Tour season already.
That's a hell of a way to start a season. You're counting that the live bet, though. I would.
I am counting the live bet, yes. I had 3 pre-tournament bets hit in the fall swing.
Okay.
The first one in 2023 was Max Homa live this past weekend.
There you go, man. You're on it. You're on it right now. Jack, final or like best pick for this tournament? Like what's your favorite bet? Maybe outright anything.
Just go Spieth. I think if you play Spieth in one and done, use him as an outright, maybe he doesn't win. I think the chances of him contending, though, are pretty darn good. And ultimately what you want on Sunday is you want a guy in contention who gives you a chance. So I think Jordan Spieth is probably the guy in this field that will give you the best chance. That's why I'm ultimately probably going to be betting on him. So I would say Spieth is probably the safest pick this week. I was close to going with him in my one and done. I just don't want to burn him until Valero. Hopefully I'll still be in the lead by then and I can.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up next. Well, hey, hopefully I passed you before that so I can play him there. But yeah, with that said though, Jack, we got to get out of here. I don't really have a favorite bet this week. I'm probably going to say Joel Damon, bucket hat with the stash. Let's get it. We are Golf on Tap and On Tap Bets, produced and sponsored by OnTapSportsNet.com. Go ahead and check out all the great content over there. You can follow our account at OnTap Golf and at OnTap Bets. Jack is at Jack Bushman 2. I am at Joey Knows Nothing. We're out of here. Good luck. Cash some tickets. Crack them. Lock them. And let's go. Good luck.